Mr. President, sir, in waiting, I must truly thank you for finding me worthy to be on this ticket. But a decision had been taken at the federal level, at a party level, and I had already been nominated vice presidential candidate. So what did happen was the question of, oh, I did not seem to follow the path and the thoughts of the people. And I have advised myself that it's important that I need to go with the people.
Okay. Last week, there was the announcement that the leadership of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State will leave the party. And this week on Monday, the party leadership, the governor, former governor, and all major PDP stakeholders in Delta State left the People's Democratic Party for the All Progressive Congress. As expected, there were angry responses from people outside the APC, but the APC people rejoiced that they had made some good catch. What in Hausa, some people may say, Wawankamu. But this has raised several questions as to what really is the issue with Nigerian politicians and Nigerian politics. Why did it take Governor Okowa and his people so long to realize that they made a mistake in 2003 when they decided to support a northern candidate for the position of the presidency of Nigeria? This is the other side. My name is Remande Shawolu. In his interview with the Arise television, Governor Okowa said that he regretted, or in other words, he was not happy. He had reflected and seen that he made a mistake in supporting the ticket of a northerner who wanted to become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria against a fellow southerner who was also contesting for that position. He said he reflected during the campaign and saw that his people were not with him during the elections. His people did not share in his sentiments. And that is why you could see that Governor Okowa, even though he was the sitting governor of Delta State, could not give his ticket up to 100,000 votes in the last election in Delta State. As a matter of fact, the Labour Party led and the APC came second. The PDP came in a distant third place. But what is it all about? It is interesting because the person who led the forces to defeat a southern candidate or to defeat a fellow Niger Deltan who would have had his second shot at the presidency of Nigeria in 2015 was Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who led several people, including former Senate President Bukola Saraki and several governors that went out of their way to ensure that they destroyed the PDP or made the PDP so weak that the PDP lost the election to the APC in 2015. And also, it's important to note that one of the reasons why PDP had a crisis in the 2015 election was the quarrel between the governors over whether the presidential candidateship should go to the south or the north. And Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, the medical doctor who had been a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hosted a meeting of all southern governors where they did a meeting and took a decision that the presidency of Nigeria in 2023 should go to the south. It did not take long after that, Governor Okowa abandoned the decision that was taken in his government house in Asaba and decided to become the vice presidential candidate to Vice President Atiku Abubakar. It is not known, we are not privy to know at what point Governor Okowa realized that the people in Delta State did not want to be part of the people who wanted power to remain in the north. But then, let's assume that he got to know about this some weeks before the elections. The Electoral Act allows for him to withdraw from the ticket And the presidential candidate of the PDP at that time would have picked another person who would have run with him as a vice presidential candidate. But then if Okowa did say, or is now saying that his people did not like the ticket, the question you will ask him, when did he realize that his people did not want power to remain in the north? And why didn't he step down so that he would give the PDP the chance to nominate somebody who was interested in ensuring that the election was won? Well, if you look at this, the way Nigerian politics plays, you can see that, in my own opinion, what the governor then of Rivers State did was more honorable than what Governor Okowa also did, because Governor Okowa could have publicly come out to say that his people did not like the ticket. But he stayed with the ticket and waited until news filtered out that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was chasing him for misappropriating for a fraud of 1.3 trillion naira. This begs the question, is it the campaign to APC now because the EFCC is chasing him, or he truly believed and was convinced by his people that it was not possible for them to support a northern candidate and he went ahead to work against his people? Or maybe he followed his people secretly and worked against the PDP ticket. But these are questions that no one can answer but him. It is also interesting to note that contrary to what Governor Okowa did say, Governor Okowa, the governor of Bayelsa, and other southern, especially southeast governors, worked assiduously with all their heart and compelled or made their delegates to vote for Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Why did they tell their people to vote for Vice President Atiku Abubakar during the primaries if they did not believe that the Atiku Ainodina should become the president of Nigeria after President Muhammadu Buhari? The second issue that Okowa raised was the issue of fairness between North and South in terms of rotation of Nigeria's political power. But the fact is that the Southwest is not shortchanged in the rotation of power between North and South. As a matter of fact, if you look at the figures, you will note that President Olusegun Obasanjo did 8 years. And now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing 4 years. That means that in total, the Southwest has ruled the country, or would have ruled the country by 2027 for 12 years. The Northwest, which has been accused of dominating Nigeria's political power, if you look at the same calculation, the 2.5 years of President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari makes it 10 years or 10 years plus. That means that in terms of power rotation in Nigeria today, the Southwest is the major beneficiary. And if both President Bola Ahmed Tinubu spends additional 4 years, this is how it will look. If you take a look at the statistics, just take a look at the fact that President Olusegun Obasanjo ruled this country for 8 years. If President Bola Ahmed rules the country up to 2031, the Southwest would have ruled the country for 16 years. And the Northeast would have ruled the country for 0 years. The South-South would have ruled the country for 6 years. That is the years that President Jonathan ruled the country before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu put together a coalition that sent him out of power, in spite of the fact that President Goodluck Jonathan himself is a Southerner. And if you look at the Southeast too, the Southeast would have had 0. So by 2031, if you follow the logic and what Governor Okowa wants to do, this is what you have. Southwest, 16 years, Northwest, about 10 years plus, South-South 6 years or thereabout, North Central, Northeast, and Southeast 0. That is not a good idea of fairness. I think we have to look at other issues other than the issue of fairness to accept what Governor Okowa gave as the reasons why himself and his people are leaving or have left the PDP. Or let's look at it another way. Or if Okowa is sincere about wanting power to remain in the South, the question I would have asked him, why didn't he support Governor Peter Obi? Because if he had given support to Peter Obi and convinced other people who wanted power to go to the South to give their votes to Peter Obi, the question of saying that you wanted power to be in the South would not have arisen. If you look at the statistics of the election, you will see very clearly that if the 5G governors who made their opposition and support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu public, if they had supported Peter Obi, and secret supporters of power shift to the South-South, like Governor Okowa had also given their support to Peter Obi, it's very evident that Peter Obi would have won the elections and power would have remained in the South. But let me take it another step. Assuming, for the sake of argument, that the issue of fairness is what has propelled the mass decamping in Delta State, would Okowa and Governor Sheriff and the people that are following them also be amenable to the possibility that President Goodluck Jonathan will succumb to the pressures that are being put on him to run for a second time and give their support to him, so that South-South will come up to 10 years. And of course, the Southwest will remain the one that has the highest shot at power, 12 years. Or Okowa and his people will go ahead to support Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so that the Southwest will now have more years in power than even the South-South where he comes from. Or let's take another. If Peter Obi becomes a candidate of the Labour Party again, or of the new coalition that is going on, and Southeast has never had a shot at political power, will Okowa and his people also agree to give power to support Peter Obi because Southeast has never had power? If they don't do so, it means that there are other reasons that have made them to go to the APC. But then, if you look at what happened in the election, and that is very instructive to note, the fact that Okowa and his people were in the PDP and won most of their elections, including the governor elections, did not change the fact that PDP lost in the presidential election. And so, if I were in the strategy team of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'll have to look at all the issues very seriously. If Okowa and his people are compelled by their belief that there should be equity and fairness, it means that if a candidate comes up in the South-South, which has not had as much time in power as the Southwest or the Northwest or the Southeast, where nobody has come to power yet, it's possible, if this idea that they are working for fairness is what is propelling them, they will decide to support the candidate from the disadvantaged area, and therefore their usefulness in the long term for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be very high. And of course, it's important to note that the politics of Nigeria has so much been dominated by people, generally, not just Okowa, but most people who are in politics do not believe in political parties. They do not believe in what they say. What they say is different from what is in their mind. And what they want to do, the supporters can only guess. And this is the reason why when we go to interact with politicians from other political parties around the world, they are surprised that somebody today who was in the PDP, tomorrow he is in another party. I remember once when we had an interaction with some parliamentarians outside Nigeria who had come visiting. Their problem or the question they raised was this: how will they relate with people who are of the left or the center of the left or center of the right in Nigeria's politics? If today they come, they discover that somebody that was in party A is in party B tomorrow, next tomorrow is in party C, and another time he comes back to party A. And so the world is surprised. They are surprised. They don't know how politics is played in Nigeria. And I think we who are in the politics, those of us in politics, need to think twice about the decisions that we take. What do you think about what Okowa and his people have done? Are they sincere? Will they be able to deliver President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Delta State? And think about it. What if the people who helped President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come second in Delta State decide to leave the APC for Okowa and his team who have assumed leadership now? How will it benefit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? And does President Bola Ahmed Tinubu need all the states to be in APC for him to win election again? Please, your comments are needed. Let me know what you think so that we can have a discussion on how Nigeria can move better. Remember to subscribe to our channel and share our video, like, and recommend the video to other people. This is The Other Side. My name is Rumande Shawulu.